Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And we love talking about youth villages. We're honored to be joined by their CEO, Pat Lawler. Pat, how are you doing?
I'm great, Jeremy. How about you?
Doing very well. So you do tremendous good, you and your team, and we'll talk all about that as well as a new program that you've launched. Let's start with some context, though. Give us a little background on youth villages.
We started with a merger about 1986, 36 years ago, between a program called Dogwood Village, which I had been working for about 6 years, and Memphis Boys Town. And we created youth villages from two mergers of two not-for-profits.
And so give us an idea of where your heart lies, the specialization. So let's go ahead and dive into the youth that you serve.
While our name is Youth Villages, and we started that way with two residential programs, we provide a lot of services that are not residential at all. As a matter of fact, this past year, we've served over 36,000 young people and young adults, and only about 1,500 were in our residential programs. For a very small percentage of the young people we serve now are actually in our residential programs. And most of our work around the country, we serve about 100 locations in 23 states in the district. And most of our work around the country is identifying the highest risk young people and young adults in those communities, try to prevent them from ever being removed from their families. But if those young people have been removed from their families and put in the child welfare and juvenile justice systems, helping us return them back home with their families successfully. And we use a model called Intercept for young people under the age of 18. Those over the age of 18, we have a model called LifeSet for young people, primarily aging out of the foster care system, to return them to the community to live more independently as a young adult.
Paint the picture. Obviously, it's broad, but when you talk about the youth and what they're dealing with, and especially exacerbated by the pandemic, illustrate what they're going through and the challenges that they're facing.
Well, before the pandemic, they were facing tremendous challenges. Most of the young people we're serving, the great majority, abuse, neglect, serious emotional and behavior problems. Many of their family members have been in and out of prison, some with mental health problems themselves. Many are raised by grandparents or relatives. And of course, a lot of the young people we serve are in the child welfare and juvenile justice system. They've lived a complex life filled with, in some cases, turmoil and tragedy. And just, we talk about giving kids a second chance. A lot of our kids haven't been given a first chance. And so, they bounce around from school to school. They've been in and out of the child welfare system, maybe the juvenile justice system, a lot of mental health counseling. A lot of their parents have been, at times very unstable or maybe just haven't been the most responsible and dependable parents because of their circumstances as well. So, just all the challenges you hear about and read about. And unfortunately, the kids that come to our residential programs have faced some of the most serious challenges and usually more serious abuse, neglect.
When you look at what makes you and your team and your program successful, obviously it's the relationships, the pouring in, building the trust, unconditional love. Like you said, being given a chance that they've never been given before, but also being shown love that they might not have ever been shown before. What do you think, though, are some of the key elements that really make your program and your team a success?
Well, everything you mentioned is very, very important. But really what's most important next to what you said, those deep relations and the love and the care and concern for the young people and the families we work with, is really the interventions we use. We use evidence-based interventions built on the best science and data and research in our field today. And that is, it's highly specialized. It's monitored closely by licensed staff that guide and direct the work here. But the most important part of our work are the people that do the work. The staff that do this work have to be passionate, have to make sacrifices, have to be willing to work, long hours, and deal with a lot of tragedy and loss and really difficult circumstances the young people and families are experiencing. Yeah.
You often hear the phrase, the hardest ones to love are the ones who need it the most. And so I think in some cases, a lot of that plays true, is breaking down those walls that those children have put up as their own safety mechanisms, but being able to break through so that real success and progress can be made. I mean, paint that picture in terms of some of the success stories that you've been able to see. And obviously you don't have to name names, but just talk about the impact.
No doubt about it. And but most of our work is with the adults in the home. Like I said, over 34,000 of the young people and young adults we worked with last year were living in the community, not in our residential programs. And our work is mostly with the families, the adults in the home, not the young people. This is not like a probation service. While 20 and 30% is involved, the young people, we're more giving the families the tools and the resources they need, the skills to take care of their own lives as well as their children's lives.
Talk about those who have aged out of the foster care program. I know this is something that you saw as a real need. And so you stepped in and created this program and said, hey, as they're aging out, they still need to have the support network so that they can be successful at the next stage of their life. Talk about that side.
Yeah, we found in our research, we track all the young people that leave all of our programs at 6 months and 12 months after they've been returned to their families, returned to the community. And we just found in the late 80s and 90s, a lot of the young people that were older, the 17 and a half, 18-year-old kids, were going back to a home that they didn't really even have the support and the resource they need to live independently. And many of them were failing. And so we developed a program in 1999 funded by a small grant from the Day Foundation and created a program called LifeSet. And this is for young people 17 and a half to 23 years of age to help them, live more independently and responsibly. Housing, food, clothing, all the necessary supports, education, transportation, just everything any young adult would need when they move into the community. And this program has been so successful, we've expanded throughout the country. There's about 22,000 young people a year age out of the foster care system. And our goal over the next 6 or 7 years is give about 75 to 80% of those young people the best opportunity to live independently through the LifeSet program. And we're also licensing other not-for-profit organizations across the country to use our model as well.
What do you think is the licensing and encouraging more nonprofits and kind of creating this collaborative network? Is that kind of the next phase of this?
It is. We're a large organization, but to go into a city and start, just from scratch is very, very difficult. There's great not-for-profits all over the country that want to do this work. They're passionate about this work, but don't have the resources or necessarily the model that's most effective. So we can go in and help teach them how to use the model and provide the support and supervision they need to be effective as well. And like I said, we're working with over 20 organizations now throughout the country and expanding that service. And we're also expanding our Intercept program to license it as well. We just started that process also.
Nice. I think all that is exciting news when you look at what that means and the impact ahead. One of the other things I know that is a new program on your end, but it's something that unfortunately our youth are dealing with firsthand and seeing every day, especially on the news, but is gun violence. And so talk about what has led you to create this new program, Memphis Allies.
Yeah. Well, in 2020, this is the first year of the pandemic. The numbers of murders just rose dramatically in Memphis. But not only the number of murders, the number of children murdered rose dramatically in Memphis. And in 2020, there were 38 children murdered and 332 total people murdered in Memphis. And as we were watching those numbers, we asked ourselves, this is not an area we've worked before. We have not worked with the most violent young people in the community or even in our residential programs. Our residential programs are primarily focused with seriously mental health problems, not serious delinquent problems like aggravated assault or murder. And so we just started asking ourselves, how can we have an impact? And the first thing we did was we really focused on data, was to better understand the data and find out what other people around the country were doing, but also look to Memphis and say, what's happening in Memphis? And most of the people we talked to in Memphis said that most of the murders were occurred by young people. The news was filled with it. In actuality, the research is very clear. The average age person in committing murders in Memphis, Tennessee is 28 years old. The average person murdered in Memphis, Tennessee is 27 years old. Only about 10% of the murders in Memphis are involving people under the age of 18 years of age. That's the first thing we learned. Then we had to ask ourselves, what services are out there for young people as well as adults? And so we spent basically from October of 2020 through January of 2022 building a plan. a comprehensive plan. We brought all of our top people together from our clinical service department, our research department, our strategy department, our business planning and policy department. We hired the best consultants in America and built a plan and started basically providing services about 7-8 months ago to help prevent people from, let's just say help keep people more safe.
When you look at the plan and the model, and SWITCH is an acronym, and so support with intention to create hope. Talk about the plan and the SWITCH model.
Well, the SWITCH model involves really 3 key components. First of all, you've got to identify the highest risk people in the community. And most of the research says about 50 to 70% of the murders that occur in a community is predictable. They're people that have similar risk factors. They've been in gangs, they've been shot at, their friends and family has been shot at or killed. They probably do not have a job, but maybe bouncing around job to job. Many of these folks might be couch surfing, not have stable housing. Most have been in and out of prison, almost all have been out of prison many, many times. So you want to narrow your focus and say, who are the highest risk people? Identify those people. In a city our size, the data reflects there's probably around 500 or 600 of those people on a given day that are out there that are most dangerous of being killed or shooting someone. And they're the same people, by the way, okay? Many of them are involved in these cliques and gangs and crews and hybrid groups. They use a variety of names now. It's not like the old days of just 4 big gangs, and that they're located throughout the city. And the second part is you got to connect to those people. You got to somehow connect to those people. And basically the staff we've hired, we've already got about 35 staff. We'll be hiring more than 300 along with our ally partners over the next few years. But these are people that grew up in those neighborhoods. They've also been in gangs. They've also been in jail, many of them. They live the life. They understand what it's like to be in that life. And they connect to these young adults, and most of the age of 17 to 35. And once they connect to them, they serve as a role model. And basically we have life coaches, we have case managers, we have outreach workers, but each life coach will have about 8 guys, and most are guys, although Memphis does have one of the highest percentages of women involved in murder than any place in the country. But so these some women they'll be assigned to, and they basically become part of their life. And these people, we're calling participants, will come into our programs and services, and they'll be heavily involved in what's called cognitive behavior therapy. These people have grown up in such trauma and violence. Many of these people do not have, a lot of them don't eat. And there's been some data that shows between 26 and 42% of them don't eat every day. Many of these folks do not have the best education because of their history in the criminal justice system. They have trouble finding housing and trouble finding jobs. So basically, we're building a support system around this person, and that helps them get the cognitive behavior therapy they need, group therapy. There will also be a lot of focus on creating a life plan for them. What do they want for their life? And talk a lot about who they're associating with, helping them in some cases find a job, but many of them may not be ready to find a job. But everything right now, we're getting them birth certificates, social security cards, driver's license, all the things that you really need to build an independent and responsible life and be safe at the same time. Some of these guys will be helping them find other places to live in their communities. We'll be talking a lot about playing defense and not offense with weapons, and how to be safe and how to make best decisions. So they'll be coming into our location. We're starting in Raleigh-Frazier 3 or 4 days a week, working with a lot of other staff and professionals providing this guidance and support. There'll be a lot of group therapy, but really, as one of them said, as one of our staff said, I spent most of my life tearing this community down. Now it's time to rebuild it. They'll be asking to do volunteer work in the community. So they'll be very much involved in trying to rebuild our community, and not just in terms of picking up garbage, but also help. We're going to be having a lot of community activities, a lot of events in some of these most dangerous apartment complexes. There'll be events in parks. There'll be music. We'll be giving out, cookouts. We've been doing this already all over the Raleigh-Frazier. Cookouts, hamburgers, hot dogs, soft drinks, because what we're trying to do is connect to the community and identify who those highest risk people are to bring into our program. It's usually about a 15 to 18 month program to where they're living safely and independently, but it's very intense. And that's kind of the three key components there. Yes.
Yeah. How can we help? How can the community help your efforts?
Well, I think first of all, you know, I've talked to hundreds of people in this community individually, and a lot of people do not believe this can be resolved. We've done enough research to know that we can have a significant impact reducing the gun violence in this community. And obviously, let me say this, we believe that people that are involved in gun violence, that, look, if the police have a case on the person, they need to go through the justice system. Okay, we're focusing more on the prevention aspect. Who are the highest risk people that are out there living in the community, and that they have not been arrested and they're unsafe, and providing the best support we can. So I think the first thing is let everybody know that there is some hope for our community. Okay, our goal is to reduce the murder rate by 30% in the 4th year, and we've got a 4-year plan. We started the initial phase back in January of 2021. We just completed the first 18 months, and now the first part of the 4-year plan has started just 7 days ago. We'll be ramping up over in those 7 most dangerous areas of the community. We're starting in Raleigh-Fraser, and the other 6 areas are North and South Memphis, Hickory Hill, Binghamton, Whitehaven, and Orange Mound. So those are the areas we'll be focusing on over the next 4 years. So I think one, hope, that's first of all. Secondly, if you know of a high-risk person that is in danger of maybe, or they're living the life, they're in danger of being shot or shooting someone, give us a call, and we'll give you a number to put up. We have a hotline number that we check every day, several times a day, and responds. We're looking for the highest risk people. If there's a group you want us to come and talk to, we'd be happy to talk to you about it. Because we're trying to, like I said, identify the highest risk people. We're also reaching out to other not-for-profits. This is a partnership. Memphis Allies is not just youth villages, it's also including several other not-for-profits across the city. We'll be supporting a lot of not-for-profits already working in these communities to provide them the support and the direction and the resources they need to help us implement this program together. This is not just about youth villages. That's why the name is Memphis Allies.
Go ahead and wrap up then with contact information. So website, the phone number, where do we go to learn more both about youth villages and also Memphis Allies?
MemphisAllies.org. Phone number 901-252-7900.
And then obviously youthvillages.org is the website for youth villages for everyone to learn more as well. So Pat, greatly appreciate all you and your amazing team do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for inviting us. Appreciate what you do too, Jeremy.